green skin, warts, flying on broomsticks and brewing potions with frog legs. When we think of witches, that's the image that pops up. We all know that's just fairy tale stuff. But the real witch hunts were no fairy tales. Tens of thousands of people, mostly women, were executed. Executed for things they didn't do. But what if I told you the main evidence of their guilt was more absurd than a Hollywood script? What made entire villages believe their neighbor, who they'd known for 20 years, suddenly cut a deal with the devil? Let's break down which myths about witches were really just excellent PR. The core idea was simple. The devil is real, and he's actively recruiting agents on Earth. These agents' witches must be found and neutralized. Sounds like the plot of Supernatural. But for people in the 15th to 17th centuries, this was grim reality. The church and the government believed they were saving souls. They thought they were society's cleanup crew, purging an infection. The problem is, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And they had a giant hammer of legalized paranoia. The witch hunt became the perfect tool for solving everyday problems. Your crops failed? The neighbor's fault. Your cow's milk is sour? The neighbor. Have a personal grudge? Just call them a witch. It was basically the first viral cancel culture challenge. Only instead of Twitter, they had pitchforks and bonfires. The most ironic result? In trying to stamp out evil, society created the perfect conditions for it. Fear and accusations destroyed communities. In some regions, like the electorate of Trier in Germany, the hunts were so ferocious that the female population in some villages was decimated. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Meet Matthew Hopkins, England's self-proclaimed witch-finder general. Picture a guy who decided he had a special talent for seeing evil. His obsession wasn't just catching witches, he wanted to turn it into a systematic, profitable business. He was, in effect, a 17th century startup bro. His product was fear, and his investors were terrified town councils. His key mistake, if you can call his business model that, was pure cynicism. Hopkins didn't buy into complex demonology. His methods were simple and brutal. He didn't use complicated torture, which was illegal in England. He used sleep deprivation. He'd force suspects to walk around a room for days and nights on end. The exhausted brain would start to hallucinate and confess to anything. His character is best shown by the swimming test. The accused was tied up and thrown into a river. The logic was ironclad. If she sank, she was innocent. If she floated, the water rejected her, and she was obviously a witch. So your choice is die innocent or die guilty. Hopkins had turned justice into a mechanism that was rigged in his favor. Hopkins was a monster, but he wasn't operating in a vacuum. He and thousands of other hunters had their business plan. There was one detail that turned local paranoia into a global pandemic. It wasn't a law, it was a book. The Malleus Maleficarum, or Hammer of Witches, published in 1487. Before this, there was no single guideline for witches. There were local superstitions, but it was all just scattered notes. The hammer became the witch hunter's Bible. It was basically the first do-it-yourself guide to finding, interrogating, and destroying witches. It detailed why women were more prone to witchcraft. Spoiler, because they're women. The book gave a veneer of legality to the most sadistic practices under the guise of a holy mission. For the common person, this book meant any rumor could become a death sentence. Before, a local priest might dismiss gossip. Now, he had a step-by-step instruction manual. The hammer launched a process where the accusation was the proof. It turned petty arguments into matters of state security. So, how did this legal process actually work? Imagine trying to prove your toaster is secretly working for demons. The primary problem the court was solving wasn't finding the truth. The problem was how to get an official confession. Without a confession, executing was harder. So the entire process was designed to get one, at any cost. It started with an accusation. Your neighbor says you cursed her. You're arrested. Then, the interrogation. First, the soft approach. They urge you to confess. You refuse. Then, it moves to torture. And here's the cleverest part. Any reaction to torture was proof of guilt. If you screamed, that was the devil screaming inside you. If you were silent, the devil was giving you inhuman strength. If you passed out, the devil was helping you escape. Checkmate. A modern analogy? It's like trying to unsubscribe from an email list. You click unsubscribe, and it takes you to a page asking for a password. You reset the password, and it tells you that to unsubscribe, you must first confirm your subscription. Eventually, you just give up. Except in the 17th century, giving up meant incriminating yourself and 5 of your neighbors. And what about the common people? Before this mass hysteria, village life was hard but understandable. Everyone knew each other. Everyone depended on each other. There were feuds, but a social fabric existed. You knew if your barn burned down, your neighbors would help rebuild. Then, the witch hunt bursts into this world. The core dilemma people faced was horrific. Stay silent or speak up. If you stay silent, you could be accused of being an accomplice. If you stand up for your accused neighbor, you're next on the list. But if you accuse someone first, you not only secure your safety, but maybe even get a piece of their property. People tried to adapt. Some became gray men trying not to stand out. Others became professional witnesses. But life after was fundamentally different. The trust that held the community together evaporated. Instead of seeing a neighbor in need, people saw a potential executioner. The main victim of this hysteria wasn't mythical demons. It was real people, mostly women. Estimates range from 40,000 to 100,000 people executed, but the dark side of this progress was deeper. The victim was common sense. Entire bodies of folk medicine were destroyed. Any woman who knew more about herbs than the priest was automatically a suspect. What resource was wasted? Everything. The time of judges, the state's money for executioners, human lives. But worst of all, social capital was wasted. Imagine how much innovation and art was burned at the stake, all because of a fear of something that doesn't exist. It's as if we spent half the global GDP today building a giant wall to protect us from Game of Thrones dragons. So, what myths about witches turned out to be myths? Pretty much all of them. The myth that they fly on brooms, the myth of the devil's pact, and the biggest myth of all, that they even existed in the way the Inquisition painted them. The witch hunt wasn't a battle of good versus evil. It was a tragic cocktail of social tension, misogyny, and weaponized paranoia. What do you think? Is a witch hunt like this possible today, just in a digital form? And who becomes the witch in our time? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And of course, if you enjoy breaking down history, subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. And next time, we're talking about a man who pulled off the most audacious scam in history. He didn't just trick a few rich people, he sold something he never owned, and he did it twice. You won't believe what it was.